Okay, we got two left. Biography, which is our genre, and Latin and Greek suffixes. We'll save the Latin and Greek for tomorrow, even though we've hinted at it many times before this. All right, biographies. You still have your foldable out. You're 2/4 of the way there. And now let's get to be 3/4. Biographies. It's our genre. And it actually falls under the genre of informational text. There's a lot of different ones under informational text. And we'll get to a few more of those yet this year. Page 214. Definition of biography. This one we know already, but they're going to have something new for us today. So what is a biography? First of all, it's the story of a real person's life written or told by another person. It's usually in chronological order. And if you look back to the Elizabeth Stanton story, sure was, talked about her early days when she was 11 years old, and her dad said he wished that she was a boy, and that changed her life. And then it talked about the other events. Usually presents events in chronological order. And then I'm going to put in parentheses time order, so that you guys know that chronological means time order. And then the last one is our primary source. This is new. May include text features such as a primary source. What is a primary source? A primary source is something that is actually from that time period. For example, a newspaper clipping might be a primary source. A magazine article might be a primary source. This agenda or bulletin from the convention at Seneca Falls is a primary source. It was actually there. It's not a repeat. Somebody didn't write it down. I got a funny primary source that I want to show you. You got to remember, I grew up in a really itsy-bitsy tiny town, and there wasn't much going on in the town, so anything that happened in town made the newspaper. And so here's a primary source. Notice it's a newspaper article, and it's kind of falling apart because, it's newspaper. Anyhow, it says a running family, mom, dad, and 4-year-old son travel city streets by foot. Now, don't look at our funny socks, because that was what cool socks looked like in those days. But that's my dad, and that's my mom, and they were training for a big race. And, well, I love to run. And so there I am, 4-year-old Aaron, who's running through the city streets with my parents. Yeah, Jim and Gail Bauer take off on another run with 4-year-old son. And then here's a whole article about my dad. He ran a lot of races and won a lot of races. And, of course, I went and cheered him on. And then by age 4, I started running with him. Now, most of the time we'd run around the block once or twice, and they'd drop me off. And then they'd go for longer runs. But this is a primary source. This is an article from that day, probably 37 years ago. 39 years ago, something like that. So I kept that over time. It used to be in my bedroom, and then of course when my parents moved, they took the stuff down and gave it to us. But anyhow, that's a primary source. And so we'll take a look at those in our stories this week. Okay, let's check out another biography. And this is about somebody from our own country. Nelson Mandela was from a different country. This guy is making changes in our own country here. Let's start with our name at the top. It says encouraging change. JFK, John F. Kennedy, did not plan to be a politician. He wanted to have a job in academics or the news. However, from 1947 to 1953, he was in the House of Representatives. He was a senator from 1953 to 1960. And in 1960, he was elected the President of the United States of America. The words in his speech in 1961 helped bring change. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Those are very famous words that he spoke in one of his famous speeches. He was a very, very great president. And I don't know if you guys know this, but he also was assassinated. Of course, not everybody likes every president. And so he actually was shot and killed while he was president. He wanted people to be better, to better each other's lives. Here comes our questions and our assignments. First of all, did you notice it was in chronological order? You could tell by the years there. Here's your primary source. President John F. Kennedy gives a speech in Congress, and this was actually taken while he was giving that speech. How do you know this text is a biography? So you can write down this text was a biography because, or I know, because it was written about, and you can abbreviate JFK because a lot of people know him by those initials, JFK, John F. Kennedy, JFK, by another person. Now, I don't know if you know where I got that, but I took that right out of my notes. It's a story of a real person, life written by another person. What text features does the text include? Now we have primary sources. We also have captions there. And so I'm going to choose the caption. We got this caption here. Here is a caption about the picture under it. And that gives us an idea of what's going on in that picture. President John F. Kennedy gives a speech to Congress in 1961. What does the caption tell you about the photograph? Well, it tells you who he's giving that speech to. I think you can do that one on your own. And how do you know the photograph is a primary source? And we know that because on this side it tells us exactly where they got the picture from. So those two are on your own or your assignment. Double check, make sure your name's on that. And then when you've done that, go back in your folder and then look forward to tomorrow's big story, and then we'll take a look at Latin and Greek roots.